that was our objective in developing this study, to provide an accurate analysis of the greenhouse gas emissions of LNG compared with conventional marine fuels, both now and in the context of compliant solutions for 2020.
This well-to-wake approach is important because if you start comparing different engine technologies, you may just look at the engines, but in a well-to-wake approach, you start really from the supply of the fuel to the usage of the fuel. So really starting with the production of the natural gas, transport, purification, liquefaction, to the bunkering and then the use. So the whole supply chain will be analyzed, and a comparison between the natural gas fueled and the oil-based fuels are conducted in this study. So the two-stroke roughly make 70% of the world fleet for deep sea shipping. And what you see on the charts, maybe starting with the left one, are the greenhouse gas results for the two-stroke slow-speed engines. The upper two bars are two-stroke diesel fuel engines, and the lower part are two different two-stroke engine technologies. And each of the bars are separated into the supply chain emissions as well as the combustion emission. And as you can see, that the main part of the emission are released during the combustion of the fuels, while the upstream makes up to 22 to 24% for the LNG supply, and for the oil-based 16 to 18%. But what is more important to keep in mind and remember is the benefits gaining when using LNG. And as you see, depending on the LNG technologies, the advantage is between 14 to 21% compared to conventional oil-based fuels.
21% is a major move forward in terms of the greenhouse gas effect as we look at this on a well-to-wake basis. In the study, you'll also note that the tank-to-wake is up to about 28% for the two-stroke high-pressure systems. Those are major moves forward. Is that the beginning in the end? Absolutely not. But it certainly starts to move us in the direction that the IMO and the industry needs to go into.
I think what makes this study very unique is that, first of all, it's very comprehensive in terms of engine technologies considered. So there's a lot of studies focusing either on two-stroke, on four-stroke, and taking maybe other cycle engines or diesel cycle, but not having all next to each other. So I think that's one of the big advantages of these studies. And the second one is that this is based on primary data. So it's really collected data from the manufacturers. So it's not going to literature and maybe outdated data. It's really up-to-date data. And I think that makes it quite unique compared to other studies performed in the past.
And then I should just add to that, the data's normalized. So we had all the engine manufacturers in the same room agreeing to provide the data in the same way. All these engine manufacturers, I think almost all of them provide LNG solutions. They also provide conventional oil-based solutions. So that's, I think, the strength.
And it was also a very, very strong academic review panel. I know Toad is doing it. I would hope Crowley will eventually do it, and other users of LNG propulsion, and make that information available. And basically, I think what that information will do, from my understanding of some of the data that I understand will be out there, it will affirm pretty much the theoretical study we have here with thinkstep.
The main focus was on the well-to-wake, but if you do a well-to-wake, you can also split the results up into the well-to-tank and what's happening tank-to-wake. And on the tank-to-wake, so what's happening in the ship, the combustion, the savings are even higher. So we calculated savings up to 28%, just if you look at the ship part, not considering the fuel supply. Regarding the methane slip, So in conversations with the expert from the OEMs, so there are some engine improvements and engine design improvements, but there are also manufacturers working on catalysts to reduce the methane slip, and there are potential showing up to a reduction of 40 to 60% even in reduction of the slip by using catalysts. So very promising to bring that number further down. Regarding bio-LNG and synthetic, as said, in this study, it was a sort of consideration to see what would happen if these fuels become available, if this are being used at the vessels, at the ships as a fuel, and what the potential brings in reducing the emissions. And independency of the type of bio-LNG and synthetic fuel, there's potential also depending on the mixture, because bio and synthetic you can mix with fossil. You can use it purely, so it's very flexible also, and dependency also on the shares you put into the mix. Reductions up to 60–70% is also possible.
The data on safety is pretty clear out there. I mean, I don't know of any major incidents of LNG, either on the LNG ships that have been operating for over 40 years, or certainly in in the example that Tote had with the ships we were operating, the 2 ships we operate, which bunkered every week. No issues at all. We've never said that LNG was the be-all and the end-all. I think I said that a couple of times. It is not. However, it is the only alternative fuel that is available right now. And again, doing nothing does not always represent a plan. The only fuel that's available now that moves us in the right direction, that takes care of the air quality issues and moves us in the right direction, is LNG. We can only sit there and say that there's going to be a future magic elixir for so long. Until that technology is developed, becomes scalable, is safe. There's a lot of questions certainly on safety. That's our #1 concern in everything we do in the maritime industry. And we just don't know. But we do know that LNG will solve the air quality issues, and it moves us down the road in a positive direction on the carbon issues. We don't yet know what the manufacturers can do in terms of improving the current slip. We know that they're working on those issues. We know that biofuel and synthetic fuel can add to the current benefits. It's a question of, over the next 10, 20, 30 years, how are all those things going to come together? But we do certainly see a pathway to getting there.